Welcome to Insider Career Conversations, the podcast that dives deep into the world of unconventional professions. I'm your host, Sylvia Juarez. I'm here to guide you through the maze of unique career paths that often go unnoticed. Each season, we explore a different realm of career possibilities. This season, it's AI. With AI rapidly reshaping industries and becoming a central topic of global discourse, it's clear that it's not just the future, it's the present. So whether you're an AI enthusiast, a curious listener, or someone pondering a career pivot, enjoy today's episode. Welcome to Insider Career Conversations, the podcast that dives into the world of unconventional careers. In Season 5, we learn about artificial intelligence, or AI. With AI rapidly reshaping industries and becoming a topic of global discourse, it's clear that it's not just the future, it's the present. Throughout this season, my co-hosts and I will invite AI experts from different industries and career paths to shed more light on the realm of possibilities that exist for AI-interested students and professionals. Hi, Tyler. How are you doing today?
Hi, Sylvia. Thank you so much, as always, for having me. So excited to be chatting with whoever's tuning in today to learn a little bit more about the AI space. For anyone who's watched the last couple of episodes, you know I consider myself, above all else, a former AI researcher and current AI educator. So for me, it is just such an honor and so exciting to present to you guys today our wonderful guest who, in my opinion, makes my AI education career look so baby, so young, given all her wonderful experience and work that she's done across this space. So I'm really excited to welcome to the podcast Shilpi Agarwal. Shilpi is an AI and business dynamo, serving as a former adjunct faculty member at Stanford, current founder and lead of the DataEthics4Alll Foundation, which seeks to empower younger students with data and data ethics toolkits, and who is just an all-around thought leader in the world of AI and data ethics, as well as AI and data education. So, Shilpi, it's so lovely to have you joining us. Excited to introduce you.
Thank you, Tyler. Really appreciate the warm welcome and such a fantastic introduction. Thank you, Sylvia, for having me here. And I'm really looking forward to our exciting conversation.
Well, thank you. As Tyler knows, I like to be very clear with folks. I am a newbie to all of this. I need definitions. I need to know clear roles. One, because aside from being a college admissions coach, I'm also a supporter of those that are looking for career paths that might be different or maybe a little bit more relevant to what their former roles have been or what they might have thought about, they might have started, kind of redefining themselves. So I really like to support anybody, whether it be students or individuals making that pivot. So I'm going to start with a few basics today, if you guys don't mind. So artificial intelligence. Is it as basic as a machine learning how to learn, or is it software learning how to learn? Can either of you or both kind of define what artificial intelligence means to you so that our audience kind of start wrapping their minds around some of the ethical component that we'll be talking about today, right?
Yeah, so I answered this question in a different form last interview, I think. So I'd love to hear what you have to say, Shilpi.
Yeah, so my definition of artificial intelligence means that anybody who is using tools, machines, to make human-like decisions. That's what artificial intelligence means. It's basically augmenting and helping us make smarter decisions. AI is fueled by data. Today, we have so much of information, plethora of data available out there. It's humanly impossible to actually analyze all of that data and to bring out insights, golden nuggets of insights, whether it's for business or healthcare or any domain, any industry, right? It's very hard to do it manually or even through Excels and the simple BI tools that were available yesterday and are still available today. So what AI is helping us do is take this huge, large amounts of data, put them into algorithms, create a system, a program that can do that work for us and help us. Of course, we'll be the ones creating the model, but then it'll help us take all of that data and put it out in a format that's easy to digest, easy to understand, and get insights from it for different purposes.
I love your definition of it because sometimes I think, even as I prepare for this podcast and learning about what we're exposing folks to today, I feel like I'm getting a better understanding of it It's the fact that we're just getting this information together faster versus it being used as something to replace a person. It eventually, because of evolution in terms of careers and paths and skill sets, then yes, mankind tends to kind of replace certain things with faster ways because that's our society is faster, right? But I also think it's important to talk about that we're gaining knowledge to be able to perhaps create other careers or different ways of doing things. Am I kind of on the right track when it comes to artificial intelligence helping us necessarily just kind of reform some of the things we do or improve some of the things that we're looking at currently?
Absolutely. I think you nailed it right on the head. Basically, there's a lot of fear. Like when AI will be here, it will replace our jobs. Our students will forget to study because generative AI and tools like ChatGPT will do the learning for them. So there's a lot of fear factor with any new technology that comes out. Like when calculators were invented, people thought that we'll forget maths and we'll only use calculators. When computers came along, there was a similar fear that now everything will be automated and we will lose our jobs. And yet we are here today, new and more jobs are being created. It's the same with AI. In fact, statistics show that AI could replace up to 300 million full time jobs, which is a big concern. But at the same time, according to the research by the World Economic Forum, AI is going to create 97 million new jobs. So, what does that mean? It means that, yes, older jobs will morph or transform. Things that can be automated will be automated using AI. But then we will have many more new jobs, such as prompt engineering, is one great example, where you may not even need to be an engineer to be able to perform duties as a prompt engineer. All we need is a problem solving mindset and an analytical thinking mindset to be able to solve the problem, to be able to ask the right questions for these generative AI tools to give us the answers that we need.
That continued curiosity. I think you're talking about problem solving, you're talking about the analytical skills that a lot of students are using, but they don't necessarily understand that they are, that their mind is working in a way that's allowing them to be prepared for these types of opportunities. And
Absolutely.
my generation is, I believe, picking up on how to better support students to do that. You know, we talk about problem solving, but for my generation, problem solving entails having a product we can visually see. Well, it seems like artificial intelligence is almost like invisible, if you will. It's somewhere, place where one can't see it, but we only see, like in my world, an essay that might have been written by a student had they plug in words and get this essay to talk about themselves for the college admissions world, or a resume that may not necessarily be formed by the student. But I think, again, to the point that we started with, we're gathering information in a faster way so the student can actually make it their own, not necessarily for it to be an imposter, let's say, of what they're trying to represent. So can you tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do in terms of, I'm intrigued by the name. So can you tell us a little bit about what your organization does?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. So, the organization DataEthics4Alll Foundation is on a mission to raise the next generation of ethics first data and AI champions. So, what does ethics first mean? Ethics first means that we put ethics at the forefront of all decision making, whether it is design, development, or deployment. And we want to create the next best generation of technology leaders out there so that they put people above profits. They really understand that winning is important. Bottom line for the company and revenue generation is important, but not at the cost of people. And whether we are using AI and technology, data and AI for many different applications, whether it's for recruiting or jobs, candidate selection, or housing, loans, healthcare. We cannot discriminate marginalized communities, people of color, or using historical data that may already be skewed in a particular way, whether it's gender biased or whether it is biased towards certain communities. In fact, I want to state that according to the AI Now Institute, it highlights that AI systems can perpetuate and amplify racial and gender biases found in their training data. And that will affect everything from job recruiting to even judicial sentencing. So, what that means is that not only is data and AI important, consideration of ethics in this field is of the highest importance. And that's why our mission in the less than 4 years, we now have members from 71 countries across the globe. And we are working every day, moving the needle towards this mission.
Excellent. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. In a very past life, I had the opportunity to work with compliance. So I had to, in terms of finances, make sure that things were done in a certain way. Do you believe that there's enough of compliance over artificial intelligence at this point? Does there need to be social policy, or is it more like social norms, or is it both that we have to have to kind of start making sure we're getting some of this ethical aspect of it established or a foundation for it?
I think policies are always trying to play catch up, which is not fair. I would like to see policies ahead of their time. We basically first the technology arrives and then we see what all good and damage it can do. And then we think about, oh, we need to put some guardrails in place. That has been the normal trend around technology. We do have, like, there's been a discussion in the industry, like AI needs to take a 6 months pause because we are not able to have enough guardrails in place in time before the technology is out there in the open, in the hands of young people. 8 to 10 year olds now have the ability to have ChatGPT, the power of ChatGPT in their hands. It's scary, the kind of questions. They don't have any understanding of data privacy. They are asking all sorts of questions to these tools, giving away more personal information than they understand that they should be doing, sharing information like personally identifiable information, their, who knows, social security number, mobile number, their home address. They think it's fun. Let me see what ChatGPT can come up with or tell me what to do, which they don't know how that information can be misused in the hands of the wrong people. You know how data brokers work, right? They collect not just data on our online activity, but they also collect information on our offline, like real world activity, such as if I'm what kind of car I'm driving, if I go to oil change for my car, they get that information. If I buy clothes for my children, what age are the kids? Then they piece all of this information, create a 360-degree view of the customer, and then they sell it to multiple third parties.
Right.
And so, yes, some states in the US, California is one of them, is leading this Bill of Rights. The Delete Act just got approved. We did have the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, but now we also have the Delete Act, which means that if I do not want my info, CCPA says I can say online, do not sell my information, which is great. But now I have to do that for every single website. And what about all these data brokers that are collecting information on me? So if the Delete Act says that there will be a central repository, sort of like do not call list, where the consumer has to only go once and say, I do not want to be put on this list. And then all data brokers have to abide by that rule and honor that like it's a law. By compliance, they have to do that. And then make sure that your information is not on any of those lists or data brokers can't sell it.
Yeah, thank you, Shilpi. I think all of what you just mentioned, Shilpi, is such an accurate depiction of like needs and developments in the social policy space. I think something else, Sylvia, that you said that is super salient is also the need for social norms around AI. And it's really interesting to me because I think that these norms and policies could come in a lot through the lens of education. I'm thinking of both public policy to make sure that primary, secondary education includes AI education. That answers so many problems we were talking about earlier around teachers and students being more informed on how to use AI. Similar to how we learn to do math better with the calculator, we can learn to make our writing and additional kind of learning better through AI. I think also even like not just public policy, but from a private corporate policy standpoint, more companies should be investing in their workers in professional development so that they not just know about AI for a society standpoint. I wish companies cared about that. I don't know they fully do. But even because AI is something that all workers should be up to date on from a professional development standpoint. So I personally think that it all comes back to education. And I think education is how we can both set those policies and those norms. Last thing I'll say here is the norms are so important also because I think so much of what AI is produced in industry right now is all around growth. I think people are approaching the AI space in the tech industry as very growth driven right now. We're not looking at sustainability so much as in the next decade, we could see a times 10 multiplication of what revenue AI companies are bringing in. And I don't think they then thinking about sustainability as much as they're thinking about just that growth. And what that looks like is people outputting unethical AI because there's no social norms within the companies or outside the companies to confine that. And one example I gave the other day was around things like DALL-E, where if you ask these kinds of technologies, like show me a boardroom of a tech company or show me this, show me that, and you'll see these racial biases come out in the pictures DALL-E produces of an all-white boardroom, one singular woman on the board. And I think it really speaks to the fact that like we're not thinking about these things ethically. We're just loading a lot of data into AI models and just allowing it to be reflections of the biases and issues that are already present in our population and data and society. So yeah, I think for me, just kind of bring it back, education is how we need to set norms for kids and policies for kids around how to access and use and think about AI ethically. And then, but also frankly, it should scale up. I don't think there's enough education in general that is invested in by the government or by private companies to educate their people on AI. Not private companies are investing in AI, but not to educate.
I
Right.
completely 100% agree with what Tyler has to add to this. And that's why Data Ethics for All Foundation's programs, we have over 20 initiatives and we work with high school students, professionals, and industry leaders to
Excellent.
like bring education across the board.
And it's really important that we remember education is a component of this because
Yes.
as we're talking about growth, we often look at it that as an economic driver, or we look at it as an even policy driven as opposed to an education component that has to be from baseline of just what is it, how does it truly work, and how we often hear more the negative versus the positive in terms how we can move forward. The reality, it's like I talked in my intro, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. The cat's out of the bag. We can't put it in. So we now have to learn how to live within that society of artificial intelligence, but learning also what it is, because I also don't think it's fair that we keep saying, oh, it's negative, but not really learning about what it is and making sure that we educate the next generation of it. So they're not just speaking into this chat box, because I still haven't done the chat GPT, I think you guys are referring to. I don't know what that is. Okay, I'm probably the only one in the room that hasn't done that. But again, I do have to be at least enough of an opportunity to say to students, that's something you're interested in. Let's go explore more. Let's go find out how you fit in that world. You have an analytical mind. I need you to use it or start thinking about it in this way. Because often educators, teachers, administrators at school districts or different places, we get intimidated by the growth and the fast movement of everything that we don't necessarily think about that. And that's where I think the ethical part, the cultural competency that has to come with growth like this needs to be included. So I love the fact that we're talking to a woman of color that really understands that there needs to be different components to this. And an ethical approach has to include everyone at the table to really be able to say, with this growth, we have to do da 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 da. But we also have to make sure that we're being true to what the current situation is with diversity, with inclusion, with equity, and what that represents across the board. So I guess my question to you is, you're creating a path, right? What piqued your interest in either creating that path or this particular space?
Awesome question. So I have a background in engineering, computer science. So I had this analytical mindset, but I was always interested in the creative side of things. Like I used to like drawing and painting and art. I've done glass and glass fusing and pottery, architecture and photography. I have many different lives and I've actually taken these up as professional pursuits in my previous roles. So then I did my master's in design and visual communication. And after that, I started as a brand designer, graphic designer. This was a time when marketing was all about brand marketing and not about the ROI piece of marketing. It was not that data driven. There was not that much of analytics. Nobody was talking about that. 10 years later, everybody was talking about the analytics and ROI. And if this is the budget, what do you do? And I had an edge over my peers because now my engineering background and my data analytics skills came full circle. So, with the visual communication, the graphic design aspect of it, and the analytics and the data driven side, it was very helpful for me to understand what we were doing, how was it impacting, what was the consumer behavior, how were they accepting those campaigns. Fast forward to a few more years down the lane, I became a growth marketer and mentor for a lot of Silicon Valley accelerators. Bay Area is known for accelerators, startup accelerators, right? So I'm an accelerator for the NASDAQ as well as for MIT. And while I was doing that, MIT has a 100K launch competition where they actually give their startups $100,000 to like go forward with their startup idea. And I am a mentor for that. So while I was doing all of that, this was the time of Cambridge Analytica and the 2016 political ad weaponization. And then I was invited to teach at Stanford on AI for business because of my business and marketing background. So my course was on social data, all the metadata that you can use behind the tweets and behind all this information that has, how do you leverage that information, use artificial intelligence to actually use it for business insights. And this Cambridge Analytica and all of these things where, the data behind marketing was used in an unethical manner hit me like a brick in my face. Like all along, I felt like 20 years in marketing, I was under the impression that data is good, more data is even better. I was teaching this philosophy to my students in Silicon Valley who are actual professionals as an adjunct professor. And this hit me like, oh my God, no. Just because data is available doesn't mean that it can be used or should be used. We need to consider the ethical considerations like that Target example that everybody knows. Target sent coupons to a girl's house because they learned that she was pregnant. She was 16 years old. She had bought something. Target found out before her parents did. And obviously, that's not the story we want. We want just because they have that data, they shouldn't be using it. So that led to this grassroots organization called Data Ethics for All. And I had a lot of discussion with my students, professionals at Stanford. And we discussed at length, like whose responsibility is it to put these guardrails? Is it the companies, the tech giants' responsibility? Is it the government's responsibility? Or is it the consumer's responsibility? And obviously, the answer is that we all need to be responsible. And unless we understand as a consumer that this power of data belongs to us, we can't take back the power. So there needs to be someone who can educate and create this awareness as a grassroots organization. We had these cookie banners were on the horizon at that time, but GDPR and CCPA differ in these opt-in versus inherently opt-out models. Those are two very different models of cookie banners, which most of the people I talk to, even my very educated, prominent techie friends, they didn't know what it means. They said, oh, when it pops up, we just press the cross and it goes away and we are happy. So I'm like, do you know what it does and what it means and you have options? Like, no, we don't bother about it.
Yeah, I
That's
just
like,
need to move on to the next thing. And I think you're calling out something that I think is really important for our listeners to pick up on is like, it's never just as easy as clicking it away. And as I'm hearing you define and what you just spoke about, you've talked about your background in engineering. You've talked about your background in creativity. You've talked about your background in business. You've talked about your faculty positions. And I think for anyone, especially our students listening, I want to make sure that it's understood and not left unnoticed that you have a realm of different ways in which you're approaching this very specific opportunity or passion of yours. And that's what we're promoting here, right? We want everybody to pursue their passion. We want them to see that there has to be certain things that need to be tackled by us. And we can take the one thing that we want to, in your case, it's data ethics, right? And that's how you want to approach it. And that to me speaks to a social justice cause that talks about a global approach to something that you may be doing in one way, but you're still part of a community that's still moving things forward, and a huge new up and coming community, which is technology. And I think that this is one of the things I'm learning this season is that it's all very new, but at the same time, we can use patterns that we have from other skill sets to be able to say, this is a community that we can appreciate in one way or another. So I think for our listeners, those applying to college now, those that are looking for those careers, what would you say would be the piece of advice you want to give them about doing something that really speaks to them or that they're really interested versus something that might be more of a, you have to do this because it makes more sense?
Yeah, I would say if you look at my own journey, it's very non-linear. I did not follow a linear path. So that's one thing I would want our listeners and young students to take away is that don't be afraid to try and tread paths that are not treaded before. Follow your passion, follow your dreams, try new things. You may think that you are not a coding wizard or a math champion, but AI has many roles for you. And there are going to be many more jobs in the future. Programs like STEAM in AI and what Tyler is also doing, we are here to help students explore not just different career paths that are in technology. Technology careers are one of the highest paying careers today. You may think that you this is not the right fit for you, but explore that with mentor led programs such as both of ours. This is a great opportunity for students to explore this field, and we have had testimonials where students said it's aha moments for them where they say, oh, I fell in love with data and now I want to pursue CS in college, where it was not on their radar at all. Of course, online on demand learning is hard and it's not for everyone. Not everyone can learn everything on their own. But mentor led programs like this that let you help do research, help you build an AI model, help you learn coding in a way that you can actually build an AI model, take it to the next level, and explore for yourself whether data science and AI is something you can be excited about. And what STEAM and AI differentiates is that we have projects, not just healthcare and pre-med, but AI for music, AI for arts, AI for things that you are passionate about, AI for sports. So try doing those things, explore paths, and even after college, keep this exploration going. You don't know where it'll lead you to.
Yeah, I think that the exploration piece, Shilpi, is so important. And I think part of this is the reality that a lot of kids these days, especially secondary school, high school students, are stuffed down their throat that they have to have their
Right.
thing or their niche figured out by the end of high school. I want to be clear, like I fell into that trap. Like I'm a little bit hypocritical saying like these kids should be exploring because I didn't at the time, even if I know better now. But I really taught myself, like when I got into AI and astronomy a few years ago, that was going to be my path. And I was going to do the PhD and then get my postdoc and be a professor, the very linear academic path that people carve out. And I think the best thing I could have done was start to explore my work at Veritas AI, work in the AI education space, work with helping students publish their research. And I realized that there are so many more things that I was interested in. I don't know that AI will be what every kid in our program ends up doing at the end of the road, but I'm so excited to see them exploring it with our mentors. And I can just say, like, above all else, even if it's not an AI, like, look for opportunities to explore things, look for mentors in other spaces, look for networks, look for your community to get into and try something out. And if you don't love it, that's okay. You've learned something critical there too.
Just want to add one little thing. So exploration is important. And like you said, whether they end up taking AI as a career or not, we will all be users of AI. We will all be on the receiving end of AI, whether we are not on the developing end. And that's why it is important for everyone to understand how it works, how the sausage is made.
Right.
And to your point, right? Like I also studied in India. Same thing. At that time in 10th grade, like in the, what's it, your sophomore, right? So, sophomore year, you are supposed to decide whether you want to take science, commerce, or arts. And that just decides the trajectory of your future life. There is no changing after that. In 10th grade, like you're what, 14, 15, I don't know. So at that age, you are deciding, you don't know what you want, and there's no option to change. So I think that's why there are many more options now here, especially, and even back home, it's changing. So take advantage of career exploration is important.
Yes, and I love the fact that you're both mentioning mentorship programs because I think that's also needed. A lot of professional corporations, part of that ethical thought or policy component should be about exposure for younger generations to really understand, maybe not so much to study it or be a part of it in a professional way, but just in general as participants as a society. I think that participation is just as important as that career path. So I think this was a very important conversation to have about artificial intelligence because I want to make sure that we're understanding that it is the Wild West, but we've been there before. Maybe just not with this, but we've been there with other technologies that may be outdated now, but we need to move in the direction of that because things are going faster than slower. So we need to make sure that we're really understanding that component. So I've really learned a lot today. I can't thank you enough, both of you, for being here and taking the time to have this conversation because I think it was really important and very interesting to me.
Thank you so much, Sylvia and Tyler, for having me. I enjoyed our conversation, and I hope our viewers and our audiences get to explore and learn a lot from it as well.
Thank you, Sylvia. And thank you so much, Shilpi, for joining us. It's been such an honor to have you here. I don't know if I'll see you in the next couple of months. We've usually connected every couple of months recently, but I hope I do soon.
Absolutely. Would love to.
Okay. For everyone else, stay tuned for more insider career conversations that showcase career paths in artificial intelligence. We appreciate you listening and look forward to next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Juarez Consulting. Learn more at juarezconsultinginc.com or follow us on social media or YouTube at Juarez Consulting.